Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Shadow from SG TCG, bringing you guys some new locals. This time I'm using Doflamingo from OP1. Probably the best deck in format right now. Well, you got BY still. BY still around. So I ended up winning dice roll. I chose to go second, and I end up opening with Sengoku and Buggy, which is perfect. That I'm able to search a card from the top 5 and then set the next 3. So here you see a Boa, Teach, and Gecko. I'm gonna just put the Teach at the top, just so that this next turn I'm gonna be able. Oh, I actually have Teach in hand, so Teach is at the bottom of that stack with the Boa at the top draw, so I can draw into the Boa. But I do it like this just because I do have the Jinbei in hand, so this turn I could Teach, use his ability, put the card on the top, so I know I'm gonna go into the Jinbei, and then just do Teach things. So he plays a Bon Clay, ramps up one. He swung at my life. I took it. I'm not afraid of losing life early. So like I was saying, I played a Teach for 2, use Teach ability. I'm gonna put the Jinbei at the top, put all that Don on my leader, and I'm gonna swing for 8 at life, tapping a Don, and then I'm gonna play out that Jinbei. Jinbei will play out Weevil, so I could draw a card. So I do gain a card here, which is not bad. Usually Teach is bad just because you don't really gain hand advantage. So I did lose 2 cards from hand, but I am able to replace 1. My opponent does counter out. Luffy does like to counter out in the early stages just so that he could use leader ability and ramp, in the early game. The only bad thing is this matchup is really bad for the Luffy. Dofi is too aggressive real fast for him. So if he can't keep me in check, it's rough. And then me opening up with Jinbei to another Warlord is just rough altogether. So here he's contemplating what to do. I believe he's actually going to attach 2 Don onto the Bon Clay. And he's going to swing 8k to Jinbei, copying my Weevil, because the Bon Clay's ability is when attacking, you get to copy one of your opponent's attack stats. So obviously the best thing to copy would be the Weevil. So as you see, there he goes, attaches 2 Don, swings 8k to the Jinbei. I let it go. Again, I'm not gaining a lot of hand advantage with the Teach on field, so in my eyes, it's not worth really keeping. So here, after that, he's gonna tap 5 Don. Oh, he swings 5 at life. I take it just again so I could take the cards. I'm not too worried about taking life. And he's gonna tap 5 and play out a Kid. Pass his turn to me. I am at 6 Don now. I'm pretty set up right now. Here, I'm going to swing Sengoku into the Bon Clay. And realistically, I should have swung the Buggy into the Bon Clay, just because here I plan on bouncing the Buggy with a Jozu so I could bounce his Kid blocker back to hand. And I do this just so I could continuously apply pressure with lead and the Weevil that I have on the field and getting a 2k back. So instead, you see the Sengoku stays rested. I could have swung, but I contemplated on sending Sengoku back to hand just so I could find a different Warlord in the deck. So after the fact, I swing 6. Here he's going to counter out with a 2k. And then I decide to use Teach ability, putting a card at the top of my deck and attaching 2 Don the leader. I do this just so that I can swing 7, and he's either going to give me 2 more cards out of hand or he takes a life, which he ends up taking. So I really only do this to put aggression, to my opponent, to force cards. So now my opponent's in a pretty rough spot. I got the Weevil on the field swinging for 6, and now I have Jozu established that will swing for 7 guaranteed without having to attach any Don. And then with Teach on the field, I'm pretty much guaranteeing a leader hit each turn, just sacrificing hand advantage. So my opponent does have a lot of Don here, and he's contemplating on what to do. You see he has 4 Don separate. He swings all at life, and I considered on countering out. I believe it's a total of 8 or 9, but I take it. I'm at 6 cards in hand. I know he's in a law right here, but if I wanted to play around it, I would have just countered out 1 card from hand and took the life, but I just wasn't too worried about it. He ends up grabbing a double Gecko, but Realistically, what I could have did was countered out one card, took the life, stayed at 6 because he wouldn't have been able to strip with the law. Maybe force him to have to do something else. But again, me not too worried about the board state. I end up playing a Boa right here. I'm gonna look at the top 3 cards and then attach the rest of Don to leader. It's got 2 Boas and I believe it's the draw croc. So where if I reveal a warlord, I get to draw 2 cards from the top and then stack 1. So I end up attaching a Don to leader. I was contemplating on attaching to Weevil just to swing for 7, and then I still have 4 Don left. But I'm attaching the 2 Don to my leader. Before I swing with lead, though, I will swing with the Weevil just in case there's any tricky kind of counter that can KO my Weevil. So 7 here, I believe he's gonna give me a 0 cost. Oh no, a 2k and a 1k. He is gonna give me a 0 cost here though. We're gonna drain this hand. Swinging 7 with the Jozu. And nope, this one he takes. No trigger either, so we're making good momentum on my opponent here. 7 using leader ability, which is gonna play me into another Boa. Look at the top 3 cards again, which is pretty decent. It lets me go 1 more deep, and I'm gonna move the Jozu to the top of the deck to draw into, potentially to remove something from the field. And I contemplating on attaching a Don to teach and then adding the other one to swing for 5, but I opt to just attach the Don to my Dofi leader and swing for 8, which is why you see 1 Don up. I just opted on not swinging with the teach because I can get so much value out of teach, and I'd rather ensure that he stays on the field than potentially losing it. So a little awkward turn with that 1 Don up, but my opponent's at 10 Don now. Little trippy spot here for him. He's gonna swing 5, but since I do have the bow, I just block for free. Especially if he plays like a 9-drop Kaido, if he drew into it, you know, the bow would be the first thing to die. So I ensured that I swung there. He ends up tapping 5 for Kid, and then tapping another 5, and I believe he's gonna play out Queen, which is gonna Don minus, draw 2. The better thing to do for my opponent would have been to play the Queen first, or no, Kid, Queen, then draw, you know, his 2 cycle out. Then Kid would have ramped inactive and he could have swung for 6. But leaving 1 Don up like this, I can kind of think that he has got a blast breath. But me personally, if I was trying to go for board, 6 would have been the way to go instead of 5, or at least put pressure. So here you're gonna see I start thinking for a while because he's got 2 cards or 2 life left. I believe 4 cards in hand. I have a Jozu, but everything on my field I don't want to bounce to be able to bounce one of his blockers. I don't think it's worth it. So I'm gonna start off with an 8k swing with the Weevil. I start with Weevil just because I actually considered on bouncing this or playing over the Weevil, or playing Jozu over the Weevil to bounce the teach. But I wanted to see what he was gonna do. He ends up taking it. I was actually banking on either taking a blocker, but he didn't fall for it. I attach a Don to the Jozu to swing for another 8, and here he's gonna give me a 0 cost event and a 1k, going all the way up to 9. Leaving him with, I believe, 2 cards in hand. So he still has 2 cards, 1 life, 2 blockers. I have 4 potential swings with my leader. Again, I don't want to swing all out and then he just retaliates with his entire field if he's able to somehow get out of it. So you see me here contemplating on what I want to do, and I end up, I believe, swinging 7 or 8 with my leader. You see, I'm contemplating swinging with Boa, going all in, just so that I can, you know, force him to give me these blockers, which is what I'm more worried about. Because if I get rid of these blockers, if he drops a 9-drop Kaido, I win no matter what. But I opt to play it the safe route and playing out of Boa. And I do this just to ensure that I can swing with my other Boa that I have on the field and still have blockers up in case he does decide to rush Kaido. So as you see, I was about to declare, well, I did declare an attack for 7, but I'm reconsidering whether I want to do that or just swing for 8, because I do have a pretty established field that I don't want to play over. And I knew what was there. I believe I stacked the draw croc, but instead of doing that, I'm going to opt to swing 7 at life. And then he's either going to block here, give me a 2k, resting one of his blockers, which he ends up just taking it. And then now I attach the 2 Don to my Boa blocker, and I'm going to swing 8k to his life to pressure. It's all pressure to this Luffy that I'm doing right now. And then he's going to block with the queen and counter out of it to actually save the body, because again, he could potentially go lethal if all 3 bodies can stick. So he ends up doing that. But again, this is the sole reason why I set that bow blocker up. So kind of makes it all awkward for him. And I do have quite a bit of cards in hand, so he wouldn't even have been able to go for lethal. But I'm gonna do teachability to stack a card on top of my deck and then attach 2 Don. I'm gonna attach it to my other Boa, swing another 8. Since he only has 1 card in hand, this is gonna force him to give me a blocker right here, which brings him down to exactly 2 swings, which is exactly what I wanted to do, because now he could Kaido, but you know, at most I'm gonna get out of the other 2 swings. He's gonna end up playing a Fernosuke, attaching 2 Don, rushing. I'm gonna counter out of it, and he concedes, and that ends up being game. If you guys like the content, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you guys thought, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.